Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to Vivid Collectibles. My name is Danny, and tonight I'm going to give you my thoughts and review of Sideshow's latest Magneto premium format figure. This is the Magneto Master of Magnetism premium format figure, and this is the second one they make in the last 6 years. And they're a little bit different, actually a lot different, because the last one he was not as bulky, as muscular, had a fabric cape, but that one was well received as well. I didn't pick it up, I've never seen it in person, but I'm really glad to have this one. This one was sculpted by Daniel Bell, painted by Bernardo Esquivel, and of course the rest of Sideshow's design and development team. He's about 24 inches tall, 22.5 inches wide, and 22.5 inches deep. So he's going to be a challenge to display. In fact, I'll get into that a little bit later on. They made 950 in total. 350 of these are the exclusive, which includes the unhelmeted portrait of Magneto with his silver fox hair, and obviously the helmeted portrait. It's currently waitlisted at Sideshow, so obviously it was a big hit. And the out of the box came out for this months ago. I want to say about 2.5 months ago. And usually, at least lately, Sideshow's products will follow about a month after that. So we were anticipating getting this in hand relatively about a month after that. Well, I got an email stating that they were having some QC issues with the way he fit into the base and also the cape. So they would overlook the statue, make sure that everything's fit, and then they were going to send this to me. Lo and behold, they went ahead and made another out-of-the-box video, an updated version, basically telling you to be very careful with how you key him into the base and also the way that you would key the cape into him. So I know everybody wants these sculpted capes, and I do as well, but they're a little bit difficult not only to sculpt but also to assemble and have the piece be balanced as well. So that's very important. So I'm going to get into all of that once I get into my actual review. So let's get right into that. Alright, so for concept and design, this was straight out of the 1991 X-Men #1 series. That was the inspiration for this Magneto, or at least for Daniel Bell. As you can tell, he's a very muscular Magneto compared to the last one that they had released. This is not some skinny nerd. This guy's jacked, right? Unlike the last Magneto. So like I said, X-Men 91, of course they wanted to showcase his powers, which is magnetism, right? So you can see all of the metal bending to his will, right? And he's basically daring somebody to come at him. So, you know, design and concept for this piece, I mean, it's Magneto. Almost everyone makes them very similarly, right? This is how you showcase his powers. And of course you have all of the metal that he's bending. So again, inspired by the 1991 #1 X-Men. And what you get is a pretty simple, you know, concept and design, but one that I think tells a story. Obviously, you can see the colors that they chose here. You went with a very drab brown and gray base and a very colorful Magneto. But for concept and design, simple but effective. Now we move on to paint and sculpt. Okay, so we're going to begin obviously with the base, and what you have here, like I mentioned earlier, it's just a bunch of metal beams and some rock. The rock looks really good on this. It's all obviously rubble, but I like the way it's painted and textured so that it looks realistic. You know, different shades of browns and blacks and grays and things like that. As far as the metal beams themselves, they got a lot of detail for metal beams, right? You can see the oxidation, you can see the weathering. You can see the way it's bent right to his will. It's got nuts and bolts, big ones as well. And then you have, of course, the obligatory rebar that's on these pieces. But these rebar have like chunks of concrete and that rock on them, right? I love the way it's painted. It looks much better in person than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be just very drab looking with not a lot of detail. That's not the case, I'm happy to report. It's beautiful. for what it is. Anyways, it's done very well. Painted, textured, everything looks good, very nicely defined. Really not much to complain about unless you already hated the base, which I didn't. I'm glad it does let the character really shine. It doesn't get in the way, but it looks really good. Assembly for the base was a little bit tedious, not difficult, because there's so many little moving parts to it that you got to put on afterwards, but it wasn't the end of the world. You follow the video, it's pretty easy. But again, look at the rust elements on it, the nice oxidation, right? The greens and the browns and those rust oranges for effect. They look great. Again, the bolts, like I mentioned, are nice. You see the metal bending to his will. So there's a lot that went into this base, even though it is simplistic, but it allows him to shine. More of that base rubble goes on him. So that looks very good. The one knock that I have on this base, at least on my statue, is that this piece goes in after the fact, and it's painted very different than the rest of it, right? It's a lot more green and oxidized. It's almost like it was painted at a different factory, and then they put them together. So this does not really match all that well. Again, it's part of the base. I'm not really looking at it, but it is something to note. I noticed it. As for Magneto himself, he's sculpted absolutely immaculately. Daniel Bell is the master of anatomy, and he's only getting better. This is a very muscular Magneto, as you can see by all of the muscle striations. This guy's very tense, right? But look at all the muscle definition. This guy's got humongous thighs, but they look great. I love the way that they sculpted everything. He's a big 1/4 scale piece. He is quarter scale, but he's pretty big. And you see on his undies, the fabric pulls, they look great. Again, the sculpt on this, absolutely masterful. Again, Daniel Bell is the best at anatomy, and every time he makes a new piece, it just shows. In a statue like this, it really, really shines. You got all the obliques, his abdominal muscles, his pecs. I mean, everything is bulging, coming at you. He's lean and very, very strong. This is not your average Magneto. Again, look at the back, muscles everywhere, but everything looks very believable. He does the anatomy so well that nothing looks, overly done. Nothing's out of proportion. Everything's very well proportioned. So sculpt of Magneto, absolutely amazing. And then his portraits are unbelievably good. They're not only sculpted beautifully, they're painted amazingly. They have these little shades of pink for realism on his skin. His expressions are dead on. The eyebrows are done very well. The eyes are a little bit small, they're squinty, so you don't really get a lot of detail. I'll get into a little more with the portraits when I get into a little more, but as far as sculpt goes, absolutely amazing. The cape has a nice flow to it. It's not exaggerated. There's not a zillion folds on this, but it looks kind of believable-ish for a sculpted cape. And I love the way that the cape never gets in the way of the sculpt. You can really appreciate Daniel Bell's work here because the cape just doesn't get in the way. It looks really good. It's got a nice flow to it. Really nice paint job on it. Like a dark purple with some lighter highlights. But again, look at the sculpt. Look at the flow of it. Painted absolutely immaculately. And again, look at the flow in the wind, right? But it never gets in the way of Magneto. You can truly appreciate the sculpt on this. So that was done very, very well as far as the sculpt goes. And then, of course, the upper part of his pecs. This is separate. Comes with the cape and the neck. That looks really good. And considering the fact that you assemble them, it doesn't look like it's detached. It looks like it's all one part. So that was done really, really well. All right, this is the exclusive. So I do have an alternate portrait. Let me get that so I can give you a quick look at that. This is the alternate portrait. Look at the sculpt on that. Look at the expressions. He shows emotion. He's gritting his teeth. But look at all of the lines, all of the expression lines on him, and painted with a little rosy like pink to it. It looks amazing. The hair sculpted absolutely immaculately. Really nice. Gray with gray highlights. It looks amazing. The teeth are done very well. Eyes are done well, but again, they're a little bit small, hard to appreciate, but it looks great. I'll put that on later so you guys get a look at it. So as far as for paint goes, again, another home run. It wasn't just the sculpt. Sculpt's great, but the paint looks so clean, and it just really, really pops. These dark purples in the bottom of his boots, right? Looks awesome. That matches his underwear. And then, of course, the cape are all the same color. And then you have on the shin guards, these slotted shin guards, you have this different, like, metallic purple that looks amazing. I don't know if the camera's doing it justice, but it's metallic, so the light reflects off of it, and it really pops. And it's a nice contrast with the dark purple, so it looks really good. And then his belt, that same shiny metallic purple, looks great. Same thing with the gauntlets, shiny metallic purple, look amazing. And then obviously that solid deep purple to match the bottom of the boots, his underwear, and the cape. They all look really good. And the red, it's like a very dark red with really nice highlights to accentuate his muscle definition. So the shading is done on point on this. It looks, I don't know if it's picking it up as well on camera, but in person, it's impressive. It really, really is impressive. But it looks good. It's painted beautifully. Really nothing to complain about. Again, look at the paint job on that. It allows for that anatomy and that muscle definition to really shine. Bernardo Escobar did a great job with this. Obviously, he didn't paint this, the prototype, but whatever factory they picked did a great job of replicating that, at least from what I can see. But look at the great muscle definition, and the paint job on that looks amazing. All right, so we're gonna get to the portrait. This is the collector edition portrait, so everyone's gonna get this. This helmet is painted beautifully. So you have some of that metallic purple surrounding the inner part of his helmet. That looks amazing. It goes all the way to the bottom and the back. Nice design, very nicely done. It's got a nice like sheen to it. And then the helmet itself has metallic particles on it, and that looks amazing. The light reflects off of it, painted beautifully. And then that decoration on the top of the helmet in red looks awesome. Again, the portrait's done beautifully, painted amazingly. Lips are done right. It looks like a real person in there. They did a really, really amazing job with that. So I can't say enough how the helmet, the metallic really, really pops on the helmet. As far as the cape goes, again, same thing. Painted very, very well. It's a smooth cape with some really nice paintwork on it. And then the top of the cape, where it keys in right here, is nice and metallic purple. Looks really, really good. It goes with everything else. So the paint job on this thing is absolutely beautifully done. I got zero complaints about that. So for paint and sculpt, that's really where this statue shines. So we'll get into my overall thoughts, and I'll switch out the portrait so you get a look at the exclusive as well. Okay, so as for my final thoughts, now I'm going to get into basically how difficult this statue was to assemble. And based on the video, I anticipated it to be a lot harder than it actually ended up being. So you have to be careful when you're keying him in to the base, because it's dual pegs, right? And they have to go in a certain order. They want the right peg to sit in first for the left to go in, but they almost got to be done simultaneously. So it requires a little patience and some lucky timing. I had to do it a couple of times to get it to finally key in. Once they both keyed in, you got to apply a little pressure to get it to sit flush on the base. I did that. It really wasn't too bad. It didn't take me too long to do. So that really wasn't terrible. As far as the rest of the base goes, all of these little metal parts get keyed in, including all of these little rebarbs. Everything fit perfectly, but it is a little bit on the tedious side to put everything together, because there are a lot of moving parts here. You have some metal pieces that go behind them on his legs, one on the right, and I believe two on the right, one on the left, the smaller ones on the right. They key right into the boot and shoe. Really wasn't a big deal, wasn't a problem. As for the rest of them, the two arms come detached, right where the gauntlet is. No problem, they key right in, very simple. The portrait fits like a glove. The cape was actually not that bad because there's so much room back here to work with. Just put a cloth on it like they suggested, but I never was in danger of touching the base. Now, if you're not as experienced, just take your time and be patient. It really isn't that difficult. So the cape, it takes a couple of tries to get this thing to fit right. I played with it a little bit, just align it, take a good look at where the pin is, right? Because it's got not only a key, but a pin that fits in a sleeve. Take a look at where that sleeve is and try to line that up as well as you can. Once it catches, it slides right in. So the cape slid right in once it caught that pin. It wasn't too bad. It's almost similar to these two here because it's a key and also a pin. You got to match up the pin with the holes at the same time and then you'll get it to go. Just be patient. Don't apply too much force. It's a little frustrating. Take a deep breath. If you can't do it, back up and get it done. I'm going to show you now the exclusive portrait on them. I think it looks absolutely amazing. I was okay with the collector edition, and then I saw the unboxing and I saw just how good this unmatched portrait looks. It's really, for me, easily Daniel Bell's best portrait. So I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and spend a little extra and buy the exclusive. So I went with that. I'm glad I have it. But if you got the collector edition, what you're getting here is an amazing statue. Anyways, I don't think you'll miss out. It came in one medium-sized box with a couple of layers. One housing the cape. The rest of the second layer houses the body, the portraits, the two arms, and all of the little switch-out parts that go in the base, which was a little bit of a pain, but it wasn't too bad. So if you're getting this statue, it requires a little bit of patience to assemble, but in my opinion, you're getting, for me anyways, the best quarter scale Magneto you can possibly get right now. And considering the price point wasn't too bad, at least when it first came out, now they're up to like $1,000 for premium format. This is a deal. If you're on the fence about it, well, it doesn't matter now because you got to jump on the wait list if you want it. Jump on the wait list. It really wasn't that bad. And honestly, Sideshow's great about taking care of issues. So if you get it and it has issues, Sideshow will more than likely just take care of you anyways. So for me, I think this is a home run. I'm glad I have it. One more thing I will say about the statue is it's very difficult to display because he's 22.5 inches deep, 22.5 inches wide, and 24 inches tall. So the height's not a problem, but the width and the length will be. It's hard to find a spot where you have that much room for the back of the cape and then allow for this guy to shine. I still have no place for him. Right now, he's just on his own somewhere until I find a permanent home for him. That's a challenge I'm willing to take on because this statue is absolutely worth it. So for those of you that have it coming, congratulations. He's even better in person. And if you have issues, I'm sure Sideshow will make right. Once again, I thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next review.